This is Leon Charney for the Leon Charney Report, reporting to you from the Tel Aviv Hilton. We're sitting here with a very interesting gentleman. His name is Colonel Yigal Simon, the former, first of all, former intelligence officer in the Israeli Defense Forces, but maybe more importantly, former advisor to Moshe Arens, the Defense Minister of Israel, on Arab affairs. And what has come about with Yigal is that he's come up with a plan. I call it the Toledano plan. He may call it something else, but it's a very interesting concept of how to move the peace process. I think James Baker will be in touch with him in about 3 weeks because there's nothing else that's moving out here that we see.
Direct bilateral negotiations is, after all, what we've been seeking to try and produce. Now, there are plenty of hurdles, and we're not there by a long shot.
I would like to think that when they say they want peace, that they would get on board naturally. They've been wanting talks with people in the area, and if all goes well here, that's exactly what will happen.
Yigal, welcome to our show, and tell us how to get peace in the Middle East.
Well, the first thing that should be done is to break this distrust existing between the parties involved, namely the Arab states and the Palestinians and naturally the Israelis. This should be done in a long process, and we call the program that we are introducing, this new program, Peace in Stages.
All right, how does it work?
Well, first I would like to put our basic assumptions to this program. First, the political stalemate exists for more than 24 years since the 67 war between the Arabs and the state of Israel should be broken. A peace agreement without long provisions for security, without building a self-confidence, a process of confidence building between us and the Arabs is not less a danger. Third assumption, a peace agreement must be made with both the Arab states and the Palestinians, because there is no way of separate the two.
But the fact is, Yigal, that no political party in Israel has accepted this plan. So how does one move such a plan forward?
Well, it's a long process of, as I put it before, of lobbying inside Israel and outside Israel, because this is, to my view, the only thing that can be done to break this stalemate existing. I do not believe that any political party will accept this program without having a long process of building confidence either outside and inside Israel and with the Arab states.
Now, do I understand you correctly? This program says, Mr. Arab, we will agree to have a Palestinian state at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. You have to agree to certain conditions precedent before that. And basically, as I understand it, it's building up mutual trust in stages, so that at the end of the road, the Palestinians know they do have something, and the Israelis know what they've given up. So it's piecemeal, processed, long haul, but at the end, we will agree to have a Palestinian state. But that seems to be the bedrock of a lot of contention in most political parties, at least that govern the state of Israel today. If you take Moledet, Tzolmet, and the Likud, the Chairut party itself, no one will agree, I don't think, to the establishment of a Palestinian state. So it seems to me that you need to, and they're in control of the government right now, so you need to do a tremendous lobby internally within Israel, A, to educate the people, and B, to have them elect the people that will represent these points of view. Are you organized for such a battle?
Maybe to change the election system in Israel at all. I do not believe that in the existing system we can achieve anything and progressing this program. But as you have put it, it's a long process of educational process that we should do here in Israel, and expressing our views outside Israel and to the Jews in the diaspora in helping us making this process here in Israel and outside.
Are you, in a sense, an established body? Are you a committee or an action committee, as we call it?
We are a volunteer group from all spheres of Israeli society, senior IDF former officers, academicians, senior ranking governmental employees. And I would like to say it's reflecting the all spheres of Israeli society. What we are trying to do now is to begin and organize ourselves in order to do this difficult job, to try and lobby and to influence Israelis as well as Jews and others outside Israel to try to understand that without having a clear and bold plan, nothing will move in the Middle East, and this creates the real danger to the very existence of Israel.
You were a military attaché in London, so you know a little bit about Jewish communities, and I'm sure you had contact with them. In America, the Prime Minister of Israel, no matter who he be, and when he comes to the United States, he basically gets 100% support merely because he represents the government of Israel, and the government of Israel is the home of the Jewish people. You, in a sense, are trying to put this plan forward in various Jewish communities to have them at least understand and recognize the fact that there is a peace possibility, and in a sense, maybe directly or indirectly, influence the leaders of this country. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it's correct.
All right, so now we have the problem of interference in the Israeli political system by foreign residents. Do you personally have any problem with that?
I do not have any problem with that, because if we say that Israel and Jews in the diaspora are one nation, one destiny, so let them express themselves by saying the correct thing, what they think about a very vital and the important thing, which is a basic thing for the future of Israel.
What about the argument, and I'm sure our viewers will come forward with these arguments, that I'm an American, I don't pay taxes here, I don't serve in the military, my blood has not been shed to defend this country. I've been able to take care of my problems with Judaism by writing a check to you or building a hospital, etc., etc. Is that an argument?
It's not an argument, because I think that you shouldn't be involved only in philanthropic dollars and writing the checks, as you put it. I think that the Jewish nation should be together with the Israelis one nation, and to try to effect public opinion in Israel and the world, because we need your help to create a public opinion, how to achieve the main goal of the of Israel now, which is to achieve peace, and we need your help.
Yigal, any reaction from Arabs on this?
Well, we have positive reactions from Israeli Arabs. We have Israeli Arabs on our board, and so far we have very good reactions from Arab in the territories, because it gives them the hope. It gives them something that they believe will give them a Palestinian state and to achieve their aspirations, their national aspirations. So I believe that this plan can achieve a good public opinion from the Arabs in the territories and outside, because otherwise I do not see any other way how they can achieve their national aspirations.
Do you have any problem, if your plan were to work and Arafat were to live that long, would you have any problem seeing Arafat as the president of a Palestinian state?
Well, I wouldn't say that I can dictate the Palestinians who will represent them. I do not think that Boston Celtics can dictate to the Lakers who will play in their team. So this
Maybe.
to my view, we cannot dictate them who will represent the Palestinians. This is the reason why our plan doesn't deal with procedures like elections, who will represent the Palestinians. Let them decide who will represent them.
So if they choose Arafat, you have no problem with it?
I do not have any problems with that because I do not think that the late President Sadat murdered less Israelis than Arafat did. And nevertheless, we sat together and we achieved peace with Egypt. And this is a good example how things can be achieved even with enemies, not only with friends.
What happens if this plan is not followed? What happens to this country? War?
Well, one must decide about the future of his country. If anybody thinks that you can absorb 1 million Russians in this country, that you can achieve your to make your economy strong. If one can think that you can achieve all these goals together with this immense budget for defense, he must be wrong. I do not believe in it. So I believe that achieving peace is our first goal, and all these other things like economy and strengthening the economy and absorbing the Russian and others, Ethiopians and any others that might come, can be achieved only after achieving the first goal of peace.
All right, we'll hold it for a minute. We'll be back after a commercial break to continue with Yigal Simon, an advocate of a new peace plan to bring peace to this area. No more war, only peace, as Menachem Begin said after the Camp David signing ceremony. We're back. I'm Leon Charney, and I'm talking to Yigal Simon, a former colonel or a reserve colonel in the Israeli Defense Forces, a member of the intelligence community in his job in the Army. But more importantly, he was the advisor to Defense Minister Moshe Arens on Arab affairs, and now is a very strong advocate of a new peace plan, which we've been talking about now. Yigal, you want to give us a basic premise of how the plan would work, step by step?
Well, the first purpose of this plan is to break, as I've put before, the barrier of suspicion and distrust between the parties involved, namely the Arabs, countries, Palestinians, and the Israelis, which is a primary factor in this plan. In order to generate mutual trust, the government of Israel should declare publicly and openly at the first stage that she is ready to vacate the territories within 5 years from the date of this declaration, and not to object to the establishment of a Palestinian state in those vacated territories.
Let's go very slow, very slow. That's a very, very heavy statement. Number one, this calls for an announcement that they were going to withdraw from the territory.
Public announcement.
Public announcement, which means Gaza and the West Bank in 5 years. And they agree in principle to the establishment of a Palestinian state. What percent of the population do you think could accept this premise today? Don't even go further than this step.
Well, we believe that around 50% of Israeli population, I mean population and not political parties,
I understand, population,
will be ready to accept such a plan.
Have you done any polls on this?
Yes, we had the Mina Tzemach's Institute, we had a poll about it, and this is the figure that we reached more or less.
it's encouraging if these are facts. I know, speaking to many people, that this would be a radical step for any Israeli government to make. But okay, go on. We'll go step by step.
Well, now, this commitment should be made with the legislative approval of the Knesset. And all this plan is binding only if the Arabs, and I stress this point, if the Arabs, for their part, will fulfill all the following conditions, and I will put those conditions one to one without delay, because these are conditions to do these things, namely to vacate the territories. Till these conditions are being fulfilled, even one soldier won't evacuate 1 inch in the territory. Still, all these conditions will be fulfilled.
So there are conditions preceding before Israel would make any announcements. Well, first comes the announcement, Yigal, am I correct?
First comes the announcement.
And then if
first step.
These conditions are not met, then the announcement is vacated or vitiated or wiped out.
Absolutely.
It's, as we say, it has no effect. We're on to the second point now, Yigal.
Now, the second point, should Syria not accept this condition, the overall proposal from our side should remain in force, but discussion over the future of the Golan Heights would be postponed until Syria agrees to fulfill this condition.
All right, let's back
this
up.
is a very important point.
I understand. Let's back up now. We have the declaration by Israel of a Palestinian state at the end of 5 years and a return of the territories. We now have the Arabs agreeing that they will, A, recognize the state of Israel today, B, they will cease hostilities against Israel, and C, that obviously there will be no more acts of war against Israel. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you're saying one of the components of the Arab world is Syria. And if Syria does not agree, then you will not agree to have any, any talks with them concerning the Golan Heights. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why is Syria the key?
Because now Syria is the only, I believe it's the only or the main threat to the very existence of Israel.
The rearming of the Scuds?
The rearming of the Scuds, and this what they call the strategic balance between them and Israel.
Do you think Syria, by the way, as a former military man, can sustain that military balance with the fact that the basic supplier of armaments to Syria were the Russians or the Soviet Union, and they're not in too good a shape today? Who's going to supply them with all these weapons?
Well, I believe that they can buy weapons now from the West as well, because there are many sources today, open or
you believe the West
secret.
Will sell to Syria?
Yeah, that I believe that can be materialized.
Assad, the reason he joined this coalition was to do that?
Absolutely, because he knows that he can't rely today on the Soviet Union, so he is looking for other sources for weapons and money.
It was our contention that President Bush wanted Syria in the coalition. In my days with President Carter, and I've said this many times on this show, Carter considered Hafez al-Assad the brilliant of all Arab leaders. Do you agree with that?
I agree, absolutely.
So he made himself one hell of a deal, as we say in America, by in a very small way joining the alliance in the Gulf War, and now he's reopened the whole area of the West to supply himself with arms. Pretty smart deal.
That's Assad, and I think is the number one Arab leader in this region.
Carter agrees with you on that, the president, ex-president. Okay, so now we have the military balance. We need Syria to come into this thing, and if they don't come in, basically the plan could fall.
No, but we can freeze our proposal with Assad and continue with the other parties. To try to reach something with them, but
could you isolate?
Basically, if Assad doesn't enter this program, we can't achieve it, because, as I put it before, this must be achieved with all the Arab countries, to include Syria and the Palestinians. So maybe international pressure will be put on Assad to accept any solution, any program, any way of doing peace in the Middle East.
Has your plan been submitted at all to the State Department of the United States? Do they know about it?
I believe they know it because we introduced it publicly, but I do not know about any measures, formal measures that were taken to sit together with your officials in the States.
I'm sure that Secretary of State Baker and President Bush would embrace you today, hug you and kiss you, and and use you as an emissary if you could develop this plan. The problem that they have found is that it's really very difficult to move the Israeli government at this point. It seems that every time they move an inch, it goes back 2 inches, and there is a bit of frustration. You know that this week President Bush made a very strong statement about the settlements. I'm sure you're aware of it. And although he said there would be no tie-in to military aid or all kinds of aid to Israel, he does not want to see a continuation of settlements in the West Bank, which is basically the policy of Likud government. So where do we go?
So if you will allow me to continue to introduce the other points, we'll come to the problem of the settlements as well.
It's your show.
So the third point that I want to stress, that the Palestinian leadership in the territories and outside will declare the recognition of the state in Israel, and a very important point, will declare the renunciation of the right of return to the areas within its borders. I mean, to renunciate the right of return to Jaffa, Ramla, Lod, Haifa, Jerusalem, Acre, and so on and so forth. Now, the peace treaty will be concluded at the end of 5 years, assuming that these conditions that I put before have been honored and will contain the following terms with each one of the parties involved. First, with the Palestinian state. The minor modifications, and I didn't mention it before, but we think that the minor modifications to Israel borders should take place and will include all of Jerusalem's new neighborhoods. Secondly, the refugee problem.
Whoa. Slow down.
Yeah.
What happens with Jerusalem?
Well, I'll come to Jerusalem thereafter, but if you...
You're in a neighborhood right now.
Yeah. Jerusalem should be in Israeli sovereignty, but 2 elections should take place. I mean municipality elections, one in the east side of Jerusalem and the other on the west side. And representatives of the 3 faiths will administer the respective holy sites in the old city between the walls.
Okay.
Now,
seems like we're in some kind of paradise, but I like your plan if it can work, only because it brings peace, and I hate killing.
I believe that a solution should be found in Jerusalem, because the more complicated things are with the other areas, not with Jerusalem. Right. That's what I believe.
All right, let's continue with your points.
So, with the Palestinian states, as I have said, minor modifications of Israel borders will take place, especially around Jerusalem and the neighborhoods. Secondly, refugee problem will be resolved outside the borders of Israel. Thirdly, the Palestinian state will not establish an army during the first decade of its existence.
So you have no objection if the Palestinian state has a foreign ministry?
Not at all.
When we were developing an autonomy plan during the Camp David period, full autonomy meant that Palestinians would have the right to self-government, and basically would have a right to a flag, a post office, a few policemen, something that shows they're a nation, a national anthem. However, two of the provisions were no defense establishment and no foreign ministry.
I don't mind a foreign ministry. The only thing that I care is to have security measures, long-term security measures. Namely, I am against establishing an army within the first decade of the existence of the Palestinian states, and Israel should have the right to send their army into the Palestinian state during the first decade of the existence of this state, should a foreign army seek to enter the borders of the Palestinian state with or without her approval.
Well, Yigal, 10 years is not a long period. In 10 years, you allow a Palestinian state to have an army. Don't you think a lot of Israelis be petrified by that?
I won't allow them to have an army within the first decade. That's what I've said. After, I think that after building the trust between the parties, I do not see any danger if we allow them to have an army. If there is a real peace between the parties, why not to let them and to reduce the size of their and our army? Because it should be combined with a peace, with a real peace.
If there's a real peace, you don't need too many armies, right?
That's right. That's the point. And this process should be built within these 10 years.
Okay, we're in paradise. Let's keep going. What's your other point, Yigal?
What I suggested also, and I'm speaking about those security measures that should be taken, is that a limited deterrent force of the Israeli army will be stationed at a number of points along the Jordan River during the first 5 years of the Palestinian state existence. And last but not least, we come to the problems of the settlements. According to our plan, what we suggest is that residents of these settlements, existing settlements, will determine their status and future within the context of the new political reality. Namely, as we have Arab villages and Arab citizens in Israel, they have a full political rights to include, to be elected to the Knesset. Those people of the settlement should decide if they are ready to live under this state.
An Israeli living in a settlement area would be a citizen of the state of Israel, but probably in local elections he'd have to combine his vote with an Arab. Am I correct?
This is correct.
And the same vice versa with a Palestinian or an Arab. An Arab would, you could live next door. I could be standing or sitting or living next to you. You're an Arab and I'm a Jew. Or you want to be converse, we can do it conversely. It doesn't matter. Your federal government, so to speak, is the Israeli government. Your local government is the town government, where we both elect someone to become our city councilman and mayor, etc. My local government is a Palestinian state. If I'm the Arab, and together. In a sense, we live together, but we have our allegiances to different sovereignties. One is a Palestinian state, and the other is Israel.
Yes, I want to put it very clear. This point should be very clear. As the Arabs in Israel has full rights, citizenship, and full rights of elections and being elected to the Knesset, the Israeli citizens living in the settlements should decide whether they are ready to be a part of the state that would be established in the West Bank and Gaza Strip or not. If not, let them do what they think is the right thing to do.
Wait, I'm not clear. You're saying that they should make a determination whether they want to be part of a Palestinian state?
Yeah. Citizens of a Palestinian state or not. This is the point. And that's
Elliot Rose, my producer, didn't understand that point. You say that the option should be given to the settlers that if they don't want to move from where they are now, as Israeli Arabs have full citizens' rights,
absolutely,
Jewish Israeli settlers would have full rights in a Palestinian state.
To include the Palestinian passport, so if they want to remain in these territories.
So Yaakov Abramowitz in Shomron could be voting for Yasser Arafat as president and carrying a Palestinian passport.
If he wants. He should determine his future, whether he wants to become an Israeli citizen and live in Israel, or he wants to stay there as a part of the Palestinian states. We have 800,000 Palestinians living within the Green Line in the border of Israel.
But they didn't have Theodor Herzl to bring him into a Jewish state.
Yes, but they could also choose to go and evacuate these villages and towns where they live and go to the Arab countries. They choose to live in Israel. If the settlers choose to live in the territories, they must accept.
We have a big problem here.
It's a super problem.
We don't know where the UJA would send the money. If these are Jews in a Palestinian state, we'd have to have a United Palestine appeal now. So we'd have a lot of confusion.
Putting this program forth, we didn't think about the UJA problems.
We have to consider those problems. We'll be back in 1 minute after a commercial break to continue with this very interesting and radical peace plan. I'm not sure it's radical. Strike that from the record. It's a peace plan. It's basically a full autonomy, which was discussed during the Camp David days. But what it does is build a mutuality of trust between the two countries before anything really happens. We'll be back. I'm Leon Charney. We're back, reporting you live from the Tel Aviv Hilton on a fairly windy day on July 4th. You'll see this program in a few weeks, but it's a bit windy, and I've had to take my Perry Ellis America jacket and put it on to protect myself from the wind. The wind is not opposition parties to the peace plan. It's merely the act of God telling you that weathers do change in Israel. Ilan Tehila has popped in on us. He's the former military secretary to Moshe Dayan, Ezer Weitzman, Arik Sharon, Menachem Begin, and Shimon Peres. So we're going to continue piece by piece, or item by item, or agenda by agenda. We're now up to point
3, what are the conditions with the Arab states? We mentioned the conditions with the Palestinian states. We mentioned the problem of Jerusalem.
Palestinians. Right.
And now we come to the conditions with the Arab states. Well, what we suggest is a permanent peace agreement with each one of the Arab states. This agreement should be signed separately and will also include arrangements regarding water resources, border crossings, tourism, commerce, industry, and so on. I would like to mention Jordan in this context. What we suggest with Jordan, in addition to the above, to have a special defense treaty which will be signed between us and Jordan as partners for this treaty. Now, last point that I would like to mention regarding this plan is the part of the United States and the Soviet Union. Soviet Union, after re-establishing diplomatic relations with Israel, those two parties, I mean the United States and the Soviet Union, will guarantee the implementation of the treaty by both sides and serve as arbitrators in the event of any disagreement between the parties. So these were the main features of the program that we are proposing.
We're talking about a peace plan advocated by a man called Toledano, a former member of the Mossad, which is the Israeli equivalent of the CIA. Spent many years in service of his government. And it is advocated by Yigal Simon, who's our guest today, who's a former advisor on military affairs to the defense minister of Aarons. These are not radical people. This is not A.B. Nathan running around trying to make peace with Yasser Arafat in a Tunis hotel. These are people who have worked and slaved for the country and fought for the country and lost their brethren and their soldiers, and it's not something that should be taken very simply. We have finished the side that Yigal wanted to present to television. And tell me, Yigal, is it hard for you to get publicity on this?
It's very hard because...
when you paid us $20,000, we think you underpaid us, but it's a bargain for you. I understand it's very difficult for you to get publicity.
Well, I didn't see any acceptance of the media to review one of our members of this new organization, as the media has been controlled by the government from one side, and the whole political system really doesn't allow it.
You believe that Yediot, which is the largest newspaper in Israel, is controlled by the Israeli government?
It's a matter of fact that nobody is approaching us to try and to make something in order to publish these programs, and in order to achieve positive public opinion for this program.
How many people belong to your committee?
Well, a few hundreds.
And amongst them are generals and
many retired generals, academicians.
Names, give me names.
Well, names like Avraham Adan, Bren, Yaakov Even, former IDF spokesman, and a lot of senior IDF officers.
And with this type of committee, the press in Israel will still not pick you up?
Not at all. Very little.
You know, it's very interesting. I read the book just recently written on Vanunu. And the premise of the book was that Israel's very harsh on its democratic process. In no way did it condone what Vanunu did. Vanunu, for our audience, was the man who worked in Dimona, which was an atomic energy plant, and then he sold his secrets to the Sunday Times of London and was brought into Israel under some very tough circumstances by the Mossad and tried in Kamira, which means in secret, and he's now sitting, I believe, in prison in Israel here. One of the criticisms in the book of Israel was that there was no democratic process involved here. And the reason being was national security. We're not critical of Israel, we're just talking about how there is a perception about Israel being a very democratic state. On the other hand, there are times when it does not look that democratic. It seems to me that the fact that you cannot get an open hearing in the Israeli media, which would in effect influence the public, which you claim is 50% behind you, bothers people like us who believe in media and freedom of press. And how do you overcome that?
Now we need a lot of support, I mean public support and money support in trying to penetrate the media, because the media doesn't come to us, so we have to penetrate the media by publishing the program in Israel and abroad. Otherwise, I cannot see a way how we can do it under those circumstances in Israel. It doesn't have to do with democracy or not.
Well, if a newspaper, if you have a committee of a couple of hundred men and they're not flukes or flakes, you know, these are very solid citizens. You yourself served as an advisor on military affairs at a defense establishment. Toledano has a very strong background. Dan was a general during the Yom Kippur War. I mean, you're talking about very substantial people here in terms of political or military clout, and you can't break the press. And without dissemination to the press, how can you sell it to the public? I mean, it's nearly impossible. So it seems to me that if the government controls the press, then the democratic process is not really working. By the way, if you have any comments about this show, which I'm sure you will have, send them directly to Yigal Simon, because I think a lot of people will find your plan a bit controversial.
Jerusalem will be controlled by Israel, but having two election systems in the eastern side and in the western side, but under one municipality and full sovereignty in Israel. The holy places should be controlled by the three faiths, namely the Islam, Christians, and Jews.
So you don't see it as a real problem?
I believe that this solution can work in one condition, that all the other things will be solved, and this should remain the last stage, finding the solution for Jerusalem. To begin with the Arab states, with the Palestinians, and then to leave Jerusalem for the last stage.
Realistically, what is your program now? How are you going to move this peace process forward, or this plan forward?
Well, first we have to recruit a very strong and massive public opinion in favor of this plan in Israel and outside among Jewish people and others. I believe that it will be easier to do it outside Israel than inside. because as far as I had discussions with Jewish leaders, most of them accepted this program as a reasonable program, as a program that can bring to a peace solution in this troubled area. But our main problem is here within Israel with the Israelis, who are affected by the political parties.
I understand that in context with your job as executive director of the Israel Forum, which has nothing to do with this peace plan, you delivered a speech to a few hundred people last week in Tiberias. What was the reaction of the people?
Well, we have got a very good reaction from Jewish leaders who came to participate in a Jewish conference here to meet their Israeli counterparts. Even people whom I know are supporters of the Likud accepted this plan because it is a new approach, having these stages and trying to build a trust between Israel and the Arab states and the Palestinians. They found it a very promising program.
Do you feel that American support in dollars is very important for your committee right now?
Well, it might help in achieving our goals, namely to make this process more known in Israel and outside. I'm sure it will help.
Perez, Rabin, have you discussed this plan with them?
Not yet. Maybe other members of our board have discussed it, but at least publicly, even the Labour Party is opposing any negotiations with PLO, is opposing a Palestinian state between Israel and Jordan publicly. But I'm sure we can find supporters to this plan in the Labour Party and even in the Likud. But the problem is having them declare it in public.
Personal question. Amy Nathan, jailed for visiting Arafat, Tunis, PLO, now goes again and visits Arafat and violates Israeli law. Your opinion on something like this? Is he achieving anything?
I do not believe that he can achieve something because he doesn't represent any organization, any body, any establishment. Nor do we represent any organization or any authority. But one thing should be mentioned. I think this is the only plan after 24 years of having the problem after the Six-Day War, that an organization or a body comes and put forth a very clear and bold plan. Well, you can be against 1 or 2 or 3 points in this plan, but at least it gives you a clear plan how to try to make a step toward peace. And it was not done before by any organization or body.
Alone had a plan, but every plan that came from a government seemed to incorporate the fact that Jordan had to be let's say, the patron of a Palestinian state. Everyone is afraid to mention the fact that the Palestinians could have their own state. So whatever position was brought forward was always under the umbrella of a Jordanian state, which would incorporate a Palestinian autonomy or a Palestinian state. You don't find that very practical, do you?
It's an important point because I'm very much opposed for the perception that Jordan is willing to come back to the West Bank. I do not believe that Jordan is interested to come back and to have the problems with those Palestinians whom they are happy to get rid of them because it constitutes a danger to the Jordanian regime. You must remember that 65 or 70% of the population in Jordan are of Palestinian origin. And if those Palestinians will come together with the Palestinians in the West Bank, it might create a big danger to the regime in Jordan, to the Hashemite regime.
About a year and a half ago, Mr. Toledano visited with me and discussed this plan. Since then came a Gulf War, Saddam Hussein, etc., etc., etc. Has that helped your plan or deterred it?
Well, I do not think that people are speaking about a new order in this area. I do not think that anything can affect the basic thing that peace process should be taken only with the states and the parties involved in this very close area. So it won't change any basic facts that we have to sit with our enemies and with the countries and the Palestinians who are living with us in this area.
Don't you find, Yigal, since you have been in the army for so long a period, don't you find the country in Israel more radical than it was before in terms of its religion? I mean, we see Rabbi Peretz, who came out with a big announcement a couple of weeks ago saying that the kibbutzim and the Russian immigrants have to be changed, and then you have Rabbi Porush, who comes out with statements trying to lock the country up basically on Saturday with his labor ministry. It seems to me that the days of Ben Gurion, when he was a laissez-faire, the religious community had their life to lead, there was sort of a balance there. Do you find that that's gone?
Well, it's easier to express hawkish views than to build a program of a long process of educating people towards achieving the main goal of peace. But that's correct. We are much more radical. I think the whole world is becoming more radical, and you can see it in Israel as well.
Well, now you've had it. You've had the Toledano peace plan. It may not be Toledano alone. He's got some wonderful people associated with this plan, including Areli Ariv, who's a former Minister of Information and a former Chief of Intelligence, Shlomo Gazit, who's also a Chief of Intelligence, many professors, some ambassadors. Seems to be a bunch of prominent people, but they don't seem to be able to get their views aired, and that seems to be a little bit undemocratic. In any case, the choice is yours. Write to Yigal Simon, care of our station, if you have any ideas about this plan, or if you want to help assist these people in moving this plan forward, or you want to go negative and you want to go against the plan. We aired it. We try to give you everything that we know or can expose you to in terms of Israel and the Middle East. The choice is yours. We'll see you next week with another show and possibly a new peace plan. Yigal, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.